Hello, guys, and welcome to the MSC Performance Podcast with me, Mark Coulson, and Sonia Kluckova. Happy Bank Holiday weekend to you all. Today we have a very exciting topic, which is based around nutrition. So the title of the podcast is Nutritional Considerations for Beginners. So before we get started, how are we doing, Sonia? All good?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm really pleased to be on this podcast and hope you all having a nice bank holiday, as you said. This is an interesting topic, and I think this is something we can talk about pretty much every week, but now is the time. So let's consider some nutritional guidance or advices.
Absolutely, yeah. The thinking behind this podcast was basically the nutritional world can be quite vast and quite overwhelming at times. There's so much stuff online that, you know, from crash dieting to talking about, you know, carbs and protein and, you know, so many different things that we could easily get overwhelmed by. So what we're trying to do in this podcast today is just really simplify things for beginners who when I say beginners, they might be advanced, you know, trainers. Or they might be beginners in the gym. But basically, we're talking about beginners in terms of people who haven't really considered nutritional aspects before, whether that's performance or weight loss or weight gain or anything like that. So, as I said, it's a vast world out there of nutritional content and information. Some of it's very good, some of it's quite misleading, and some of it's really unnecessary as well for beginners. So as I said, this the aim of this podcast is really to try and simplify things. So without further ado, I think we'll start. So I just kind of mentioned it there. Really, the key is to start small. As I said, loads of info out there, loads of things that you could get into, right down to, you know, tracking, you know, all your macros, to timing your meals, to whether you should be having, you know, food before bed, etc., etc., etc. But the key is that whatever you do is to start small. So we've talked about this before. I did a good couple of podcasts on it with Max a little while back in regards to training and not coming back into the gym and going absolutely all in with everything and training as hard as you can. Because the key thing with your training and with nutrition is consistency and sustainability as well. Okay, so we'll go on to talk about, you know, quick fixes and avoiding those, and why we should avoid those as well, because it really is, in terms of getting results. If you look at any successful athlete or anyone who, you know, has hit their performance goals or their aesthetical goals, it really is about consistency, both in the training and the nutrition. So what we don't want to do is go absolutely all in and try and make, you know, we wake up one day and think, right, I want a transformation, I want to completely change the way I look and the way I perform, and going all in and like reducing your calories massively, or, you know, tracking every single fine detail. We want to make small steps so that we can be sustainable with it, and therefore we build consistency. And as we know, consistency is what drives results, really.
I would probably add, or just like supplement what you've just said, that basically I think many of you guys, maybe even me personally, maybe you Mark, been through phases of kind of like looking for the right diet, or struggling with what to do. And as much as it can sound boring to you that consistency, small steps, but I want a quick fix, like I think that if you haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve, you probably by now should know that it's because you were going through these like quick fixes and not really consistent plans. So I think a good example would be, as Mark said, like you wake up and you want to change something. So I think first thing you need to know, as with your training, what you want to achieve. So what's the goal? And obviously it might not just be weight loss or fat loss in all cases. Sometimes you maybe feel like, you know what, I want to take my performance to another level. And perhaps you're missing certain macronutrients. And like basically your plan just doesn't work around your training, like you don't have enough energy to actually fuel the sessions, etc., etc. So you basically need a plan. That's what I'm trying to say, a goal and a plan which you're gonna follow step by step and making it sustainable, so you just don't end up having 1 week like super like clear or being on low calories, but then, you know, the weekend comes The next week comes, and this is basically why people struggle, because it's not sustainable.
You've got the macro and the micro. So basically, you might wake up one morning and think, right, okay, I want to lose 10% body fat. I want to lose 6 kilos, and I want to perform amazingly well, be really lean and ripped. But what we've got to do is like, that's great to have that overriding goal. But what we got to do then is like, that's your macro, and then the micro, we've got to be thinking, right, what are the small weekly changes and even daily changes that we can make
Exactly.
to get there. Okay, so it's great to have that long-term goal, and this is the same with anything in life. You might be a new powerlifter and you want a 200 kilo deadlift. Well, that's great. It's great to have that vision, that long-term goal. But we've got to work in the micro to get there. So, what good's that goal if we're training 5 times in the first week, and then we're training 0 times in the second week, and then we're training 3 times, and then we get an injury because we've pushed too hard, etc., etc. So it's like great to have that overall goal, but let's bring it down, let's bring it into the micro, and really sort of focus on one stage at a time. And that's really the same with nutrition as well.
And as well, like us as MSC, I think we pretty much always pushing mostly towards performance. So you wouldn't really see us like, getting that summer body. Like, I think we are all in shape whole year around, or I would like to say that, but that's not really what I believe in. That like, what, before summer, I'm just going to get shredded. Like,
yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Like, yeah, we all want to look good, and we all look fantastic, obviously.
So I just feel that maybe the listeners won't, I'm just trying to kind of place ourselves with this, that like, we're going to touch those things about, the shredding programs, etc. And we understand that people want to look good.
Yeah.
But there's more behind it.
But you hit the nail on the head there by saying, like, it's about looking good all year round. That's the key, really. Okay, like there might be little phases during the year where you push the calories either way a little bit harder. You maybe restrict the calories a little bit more during certain periods, or you go into surplus at certain periods, or for example, like for a field athlete, like in season around their games, they might look into timings a little bit more, whereas they might not be that bothered in the off season, pre-season. But like I say, it is about like looking good all year round. Or is you think with fighters and boxers, like why they get so out of shape in the off season, like they make life so hard for themselves.
Exactly. And then it's really dangerous as well with the weight cut. Obviously, I think most of the people or athletes who compete in weight class sport, they're going through some phase of like cutting. But even like I know from Luke and many powerlifters in this gym, that you are mostly trying to stay, I don't know, 2-3 kilo minus plus around the weight you want to be, because that's really probably the most efficient way, just to then cut a little bit but kind of stay around. So yeah, I think we can move on to the quick fix, which is a very popular thing to do around.
Yeah, definitely. Like you can see why people get drawn into it. There's a lot of media out there, especially with social media nowadays. It's like there's so much information, at the touch of a button. So, it's really kind of, I guess, easy for a lot of these trainers to sort of put out there. They're looking for a quick buck, and it's like, right, here's my 4-week, 6-week, 8-week shreds program. They'll give you a templated program. They'll put you on 1,000 calories, like the same plan for everybody, and it just doesn't work. And like there's lots and lots of reasons why that doesn't work. But again, the main thing comes down to those 2 key words, which is consistency and sustainability. So like, for example, we could get a new member in the gym and we could put them on 1,000 calories. We could get them training really hard. And in 6 weeks, we can lose a lot of weight. We could take a before and after picture. We can say in the before picture, right, just kind of relax, breathe out, just stay nice and chill, relax. So the person breathes out, the belly comes out a bit. They're in good light, they're in poor lighting. And then at the end, it's like, right, come on, tense up. You've done all that training. Let's get you in some good lighting. And you can make some quick fixes. But again, the key is they're not sustainable, because you're causing an unbelievable amount of fatigue. It's just not sustainable to perform. You can make the gym maybe 4 times a week when you're on 1,000 calories for a short while, but you are just not going to have the energy levels required to be able to sustain that for a long period of time. And that's where people get the yo-yo effect of like big weight drop, big weight gain, big weight drop, big weight gain. And people just get stuck in that vicious circle of just yo-yoing up and down, trying a hard diet, and just, I mean, I've only talked about the, some of the very, very basic physiological aspects there, but like the mental, like, punishment you're putting yourself through there is unbelievable. Again, it's like one thing doing it to like get on stage to do a bodybuilding comp or a bikini comp, but like, most people aren't doing that. And to put yourself through that, those highs and lows, is just not healthy at all from a mental point of view as well as a physical.
Because like, as you just said, that at the end of that program, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks, most people just want to do a photo shoot or something, which fair play, that's probably the goal. But like, what does it give you in terms of the training? Like, you probably by the end of the program completely tired and exhausted, and it doesn't have anything to performance. I probably want to add to this kind of the bodybuilding side, or maybe the show side of this, which I personally think that like, if you find a good coach and someone who will take you through an individualized program, there is obviously a rationale behind this. So you know what you're doing, you getting ready for the show. But as Mark pointed out, even these people probably have a big mental fight. Like I can't tell from experience, but I think obviously you're playing a lot with, mood, hormones, etc., etc. So that comes kind of back to that end goal. Like, if you coming into our gym and you want to get stronger and faster, but obviously you probably want to look better as well, this is not really the way forward. Just cutting the calories. Like, we need you to perform, you need to feel like you have the energy to come back. So I just wanted to say basically that like, I don't think me and Mark like blame like bodybuilding or anything, but I don't know why people who don't do it on a stage going through these processes, like why would you do that just to look good for a couple of pictures? Yeah. Do you see what I'm trying to get at? Like, people basically following bodybuilding diets with not doing the actual show. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the idea, I don't want to diverge too much into bodybuilding shows and things, but like the idea behind that is you're trying to peak. Obviously, it's not a performance-based event, but it's it's an aesthetical event where you're standing on stage to look good for that moment, for that day.
Exactly, that's very important to say.
You're dehydrated, you've lost a load of water weight, etc., etc. So that's one thing, and that's that's fine. It's not something I'd ever be interested in, but putting yourself through that to try and accomplish something at the end of it, take some photos, okay, whatever, that's cool. But yeah, for the general public who aren't looking to do those kind of things, that's not the way to try and do it. Because if you speak to anyone who's been in a physique show, they go on stage feeling absolutely terrible, like, and we're not even going to go into the depth of like the mood aspects, the hormonal changes on the lead up to to competition. We'll leave that for another day. But like, just you speak to anyone who's done that and they just feel absolutely awful, and then the first thing they do is rebound and start eating loads of shit, having way too many calories because they've been starving themselves down to God knows how many few calories. And then as soon as that comp's over, it's that refeed, and it's like, right, I've just got to crave and eat everything. So I think the most honest like competitors would admit it's not the healthiest thing in the world to do. But like, as we say, fair play. But for general pop, like, that's not the way we want to do it, because it's just going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. Like I said, dehydrating yourself, cutting water. It's not sustainable long term. And if you're doing the right things consistently and you're sustainable, then you can look good all year round. There's no doubt about it. Okay, 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out from a holiday or from something, you might want to just cut your calories a little bit more. But that's fine, because you've built up such a good base that you don't need a massive cut before you get into that. It's just, again, minor small changes, and that's what makes the most successful people. Yeah.
So what we wanted to say with this basically was that, if you kind of searching for a template or something like that online, or I don't know where else, you probably should already know that like that one template which is available to download for, I don't know, everyone, is not going to suit you, and you just shouldn't follow something what is like, as you said, one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah, could you imagine like it's
it's very generic.
It's a 1,000 calorie template, for example, for 6 weeks, and it's like, oh yeah, get shredded in 6 weeks or 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. And it's like 1,000 calories a day. You're eating absolutely bugger all. And it's like, what? That's the same. That's
exactly.
The same
if me and Mark would buy the program, like we could get shredded with way more calories. Like what is 1,000 calories for me and you? Like,
yeah,
where does it stand?
Yeah, the fatigue levels, like, yeah, for like for myself at like just over 105 kilos, like competitive rugby player, like to drop to 1,000 calories, I'd just be absolutely destroyed, and like I'd last a few days. If I managed to push on beyond that, I'd make myself very ill, to be honest. But like, even if you're a 60 kilo woman who's eating like 2,000 calories a day or 1,900 calories a day, to drop down to 1,000 is just such a big drop off that there's not something that the body can sustain and handle. Therefore, your performance, and we're talking about gym performance today, but your performance in life is going to be terrible. Your ability to mentally apply yourself for work, your ability to socialize, to do physical things at home that you might want to do with the other half, etc., are just going to be absolutely destroyed. So the key is going back to talking about those small changes, making small changes. So if you're on 2,000 calories a day and you're a 60 kilo female, like, just get some good coaching, get some good advice. And what you'll find is that, the most sustainable way, if we're talking about weight loss, for example, is going to be, around a 10 to 15% calorie deficit, and it's consistent. So, okay, you're not going to lose a stone in 3 days, but like, let's be honest, you haven't lost a stone for 6 months or a year or 5 years. So why the sudden rush now? Get yourself consistent, and you'll get there. Like, I don't want to bang on about calorie deficit because it's obvious and everyone talks about it, but like, it is as simple as that for weight loss. And if we're doing like a 10% or 15% calorie deficit and our protein's high enough, for example, we can maintain muscle mass and lose body fat and reduce our weight. But it has to be done slowly and consistent.
I think the best way almost is like observing how you're reacting to the changes and how you coping with if we talk in deficit, and exactly as you said, that like there are other things to manipulate, like the protein. This is probably what is the most common issue, that people just drop calories but forget about protein, and then with losing weight they actually losing loads of muscle, which most of people in the gym don't want to. And that's basically why we're talking about how important it is to get someone who knows what they're talking about and how to advise you.
I said, whatever the change is, whether it's a small, whether it's a calorie deficit, calorie surplus, because, obviously there's plenty of people who want to get bigger, whether it's performance, or whatever. Like the key is not making too big a changes initially. It's about monitoring and developing and reacting as we go along. And this is why everybody's different, because again, if I give 1,000 calorie template to one person, nobody's going to get well with 1,000 calorie template. But like, my point is, like, if I give someone like 1,500 calories a day, someone who's currently on 1,700 calories might react quite well to that, but someone who's on 2,500 and likes coming to the gym 4 times a week is not going to get on well with that. So it's about the monitoring, the coaching, etc. Because this is the thing, we want to, yes, we might have that burning desire to lose a bit of body fat or to gain a bit of body weight, a bit of muscle mass, perform better in the gym. But we've got to make sure that we are able to to perform in the gym, perform in life, not make too many drastic changes that we just destroy our performance levels. Because if you want to, let's say, like the average person like might want to lose some body fat, we still want to be coming in and do it, having the ability to do our weight training, to be able to have enough energy to improve in the gym, so that we keep creating new stimuluses and therefore creating new adaptations and getting stronger, building lean muscle mass, lean muscle tissue. Because most people don't want to just lose weight so they're better on the scales, they want to look better. So you're not going to look better by just like losing weight and like not having any energy to to do anything in the gym. So it's really important that we just make those small steps. We can't emphasize that enough.
Cool. I think this kind of nicely leads to like having the basic knowledge. I don't want to say basic, but like some sort of understanding. And that almost, I would say that I would advise everyone in their life, if this is something what they consider important, like their performance, the way they look, or basically their eating habits. I think everyone should try tracking your food, tracking your macros, see what you actually eat, and maybe finding out what you're missing or what you're eating too much. Just basically having some sort of vision of, oh, I didn't know, because like we work with people on this basis, and usually people find out that they either eat too much or they eat too little. And we probably all know the most common issue of everyone who wants to lose weight, when they think they probably don't even eat that much, but like if you actually make them track their food for a couple of days, we know different. So this is what I want to like start talking about now is the tracking process. Like, I'm not saying it's the only way forward and that you should be doing it forever, because I don't really think it's healthy to do it forever. Might be for some, might not be for some, but I think as an educational element, it's great. It will probably give you a good understanding of of the food you're buying, maybe making a better choice, etc., etc. So how to kind of start on with the topic of tracking?
Yeah, so with tracking, like there's probably a few people listening sort of rolling their eyes thinking, oh God, I don't want to be one of those goons who, tracks food for the rest of my life. And we're saying you don't have to be. But as Sonia says, it is something that we'd highly recommend for beginners in their kind of weight loss, weight gain, or performance journey, because like you say, you're always surprised to find out where you're at. We need to find out where we're at as well, so that you can then, we've talked about like, if we've got someone on 2,500 calories a day, we don't want to give them 1,200 calories a day. That's way too big of a drop off. And therefore, again, keywords, consistency, sustainability aren't going to be there. So what we need to do is need to find out, how many calories you're having a day, and what kind of foods you're having as well, in terms of performance aspects. So find out where you're at now, and it's always a bit of a surprise to people. Like you say, you get a lot of people who are, I'm only having 800 calories a day, or it's like, well, you're not.
They think
you're not. They think you are, and then when you track, you get a real better understanding of your lifestyle and what you're eating. And there's things on there that you're looking at thinking, oh my God, like I didn't know that, whatever food had X amount of calories, or that was way more than I thought, or, oh, that was way less than I thought. I could maybe eat a little bit more of that. And it's a real kind of like, it's a real journey. It's a real educational journey to like, just find out where, and this is where like nutrition is so individual. Like there's basic rules that are like set for everybody: calorie surplus, calorie deficit, macros, energy demands, etc., etc. But it is so individual, because you've got to find out where you're at now, and then you can start to apply those small changes. Right at the start of this podcast, we talked about making those small changes, relevant to you and what you're doing. And how can we do that if we don't know where to start? And a good coach will then look at that, and they will apply small changes. They won't say, right, okay, let's drop your, we're going to cut out, chocolate, we're going to cut out sugar, we're going to cut out alcohol. Because let's be honest, your average man on Colmore Road isn't going to cut out alcohol altogether. he's not going to cut out, sugars. He's never going to not eat sugar again. So it's not about cutting things out. It's not about cutting food, cutting alcohol.
Because that's not sustainable. You're going to have it in your life, or you want to have it in your life, and that's completely normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's good to have some control over it. And this, I just want to point out this thing with the tracking. Like, even though people, if they usually work Monday, Friday, they maybe think they eat quite all right, quite well, but then the weekend comes and it's almost like the calories don't count, which is, again, fair enough, because I think if you work Monday, Friday, it's nice to, get late on a weekend, like have a bit more chill, have different type of food than you eat maybe, in your office lunch break, etc. But, that's when now, especially when things reopened, like comes, the eating out, a couple of beers, which again, is fine. Like, we are all, humans.
I had a beer yesterday, but enjoyed it. Gotta have a beer every now and again.
Yeah, and you see, like, this is completely fine. But then again, if you're trying to be strict in a week, and then the weekend comes and you almost like eat everything you missed in the week, that's maybe again why you're not progressing, because you can't just eat 5 days okay and then you just like ruin it in
2 days
in a space of 2 days. So again, just a bit more awareness of I'm not just gonna have suddenly everything. That's why maybe you can eat a bit more flexible in a week, so that if you would fully track your full week for 2-3 weeks, you can get really good data, which can be assessed, and then you can see, oh, okay, I see on a weekend I actually eat 7,000 calories a day, which again would just give you some sort of information.
Awareness is the key, isn't it?
So that's why we're saying that to track could be actually interesting for every individual to see, because I'm sure that people who never track, they have no idea how much they eat and what they eat.
Yeah, 100%. And like, you'll get a lot of people who, just to expand on that, like Monday to Friday, they're thinking, I'm only eating this, eating that, I'm really being good. It's like, I believe you. What did you do at the weekend? It's like, I had 12 pints and I had a curry, and then I felt hungover on Sunday, so I had a Domino's. Been there. So like, it's sometimes we have this thing that like calories don't count on a weekend. We're not being nauseous here, we're not being boring, like it's just awareness, it's just being aware. So that's where that kind of flexible template's a bad word to use today, but like flexible dieting can help, where it's like, right, I know I've got a big night Saturday, or I've got Sunday dinner with loads of drinks on Sunday. You might just think ahead a little bit. Now that you've tracked for a few weeks, you're a bit more aware of like what that means calorie wise. And we're not saying don't do it, because we want to, what's the point in all this game if we're not going to go and enjoy our lives? We're not like looking to become, nutrition and gym nauseous. So like, it's just saying, right, okay, I'm aware now of what that entails and how many calories that is going to be roughly. So maybe this week I just hold back a little bit. I'm just a slight more deficit to sort of make up for that. We're not encouraging like binge eating, binge drinking, because that makes your life harder. But we're accepting that there are going to be those big nights out. There's going to be that, those events. And for a lot of people with their work, like those social events are a part of work. So just being, like I said, just tracking for a set period of time is just going to give you that little bit of awareness. We'd normally recommend 4 weeks is ideal if you can, just to begin with, just so you get some real consistency. And like you said, don't just look at the day-to-day, look at the weekly, the weekly average, because if it's 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, and then on Saturday it's 4,000, on Sunday it's 5,000, then you're not having 2,000 calories a day. You've got to average that out over the course of the 7 days. I wish calories didn't count on a weekend, but unfortunately they do.
This is kind of where we advise or recommend to start. So I think there are many apps available. We are kind of friendly with MyFitnessPal, and I'm sure many of you have heard of FitnessPal. So basically these days you can find an app which will do almost everything for you. So it really is not that hard. And as Mark said, like if you're trying to set yourself for something like this, it's not about restricting yourself when you're actually just looking for this data. So it would be just the case of actually inputting everything you eat, includes drinks, sugar in your coffee or tea, etc. Just like, that's how you start, being honest. And that's probably when you then either look at it yourself, or you maybe ask someone for the advice or what
Yeah.
they think about it. So that's probably the first step. Would you want to
Being honest is a key
Yeah.
one. We've probably all been a bit guilty of that before, of like, ignoring that bit of food we had or those drinks. So just, if you want to make some real changes, just be honest, just track everything that you have for that period of time. And like Sonia says, like, you've got your apps out there. We tend to use MyFitnessPal, but like, we tend to, once we're gathering data from people, start setting calories ourselves and things like that, not relying on the calories that MyFitnessPal select for you.
No, literally uses just like a tracker.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Because all the foods are there, and
and it can be a little bit fiddly for the first few days, but then literally once you've done a week or something like that, you'll find it, it saves everything. It's really easy just to track. Alongside that, if you've got a good coach, that really, really helps, because there's accountability for a start, which, as human beings, we know that having someone accountable for us, helps us a lot. And also just having that expert advice of just, when to drop, when to add, how much, to go into surplus, or how much to go into calorie deficit. And then there's also the performance side as well. So, going in calorie deficit, again, that's easy. I could say, right, eat 1 Mars bar a day or 2 Mars bars a day. And it's like, great, you're in a calorie deficit, but is it healthy? No, it's not healthy at all. So as Sonia said earlier, we're obviously really massively focused on performance at MSC. So, making sure we're eating, the right nutrients, the right macros is important for us as well. So when you get a rough idea, especially if your goal is weight orientated or body composition orientated, then obviously calories is the big thing. And then what you want to try and do is start looking into, right, what are the quality of foods that I'm eating? How is that affecting my performance in the gym? But this is all small changes. As I said, we're not going to grab someone's 5-day nutritional program and say, right, oh my God, you're having, you had a massive bender on Saturday night and you've averaged 5,000 calories a week. We need to drop that. We need to go 2,000 calories a week. We're going to make those subtle changes for you, so it's sustainable, consistent, enjoyable, and we can still make performance improvements in the gym, outside of the gym as well. We're not completely draining that person and putting them on an unsustainable, deficit or surplus. Because that can be bad. We talk a lot about deficit naturally, because it's probably what most people want to do, but surplus is, too much of a surplus is dangerous as well, because, you're going to waste a lot of that calorie surplus for a start. But, in terms of gaining mass, having too many calories, is going to make you put on body fat, which obviously not a lot of people want to do. So small, subtle changes, consistent, tracking your calories, is accountability, and having someone, managing that for you. If you can manage it yourself, great. If you've got the discipline to do that and the knowledge to do that, that's fantastic. But, if you need any help, get a good coach who, like I said, it's nutritional coaching. It's not nutritional plans. We're not going to give someone, right, okay, I'm going to write up a plan for you. There you go, stick to that. It's like that, that's absolute nonsense.
Like a takeaway from me from this would be, this what Mark just said in the last bit, that like, if you would have a strict thing to follow, let's say there's an apple as a snack and you don't have the apple around, like, people actually can freak out about it and would feel like, I can't have a banana. Well, why would you not? Okay, I just wanted you to have a fruit as a snack. That's just example. But like, the biggest takeaway is probably that you shouldn't be looking at things like, okay, I want to start a diet or I want to cut. I know this is what, just like people say, like, okay, bread is bad, pasta is bad, basically carbs are bad. So I'm just going to stop eating all of this. That's my plan. That's an awful example of a plan. Okay, it doesn't work like this. Like, you probably want to eat in your life a bit of bread, you want to have the sandwich, you want to go for a meal, you might eat pasta. Like, these things are not bad. Just it's important to learn how you're gonna eat these things in your diet day to day.
I think that's like people have just been like mentally scarred over the years by like that kind of propaganda of like carbs are bad
and the different
meat's
diets,
bad,
yeah.
or you can't, if you want to get shredded, you can't drink alcohol, and you know it's just not true. Like you don't want to be putting yourself in a position where you're missing out on enjoyable things in life.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, a lot of people enjoy a drink with the meal, or enjoy the odd night out, or enjoy eating bread, like,
or the
you
takeaway,
know, or the odd takeaway.
Yeah.
And it's just being aware, like I said, you know, you use aware, you know, the three key words today are consistency, sustainability, and awareness. I think it's just being aware of like, right, okay, what is this? You know, what is this takeaway in terms of the nutritional value that it's getting? Because all food is fuel. All food is fuel.
And how it's going to affect
whether that's
my training.
Whether that's a banana, whether that's a McDonald's, you know, whether that's, you know, chicken and broccoli, it's all fuel. So it's just being aware of what the nutritional value and the nutritional content and the calorie content of that fuel is, and making informed decisions based on that. So don't if a nutritional coach ever says like, don't eat this, don't eat that, puts you on a crash diet, gives you a templated program, just be very, very aware, because it's not based around you. They don't know your lifestyle. They don't know what you like, you know, they don't know what you enjoy doing, etc., etc. Like, educate yourself, track, find out what you like in the micro, day to day, week to week, and then we can start, you know, working towards those long-term goals. In terms of, you know, the basics, that's kind of what we're looking at now with nutrition. Like I said, it is very, very vast. So you can start working from then, right? You know, what's our calorie content? Let's have a look at the macros now. So how many grams of protein do we want a day? You know, and you know, generally speaking, if we're looking at weight loss or weight gain, we're looking at, you know, a good amount of protein that we're intaking. Now, again, this is very dependent on how much you're having so far, but we might be looking at, say, for building lean muscle mass, you know, we might be looking at 1.6, you know, grams per kilo, or we might be looking, you know, a little bit less or a little bit more, but that, you know, that's fine. And then we're working our carbs and fats around that. So if we're in a calorie deficit, as long as we're hitting our protein targets, we might just have that 10-15% reduction in carbs or fats, generally speaking. If we're a performance athlete, or, you know, we need to consider the finer details of that, we might be very specific with our carb intake and keep that high and bring our fats down a little bit. But generally speaking, and again, don't want to get into too much detail on this podcast, but generally speaking, keep the protein high. And then if you're in a surplus, just very slightly adding, you know, a little bit more in terms of your carbs and in terms of your protein. If you're in if you wanted to lose weight or lose body fat, keep your protein high again, and then just reduce your calories and your carbs to 5, 10, 15% under your daily allowance. So that's what we're looking at, really. And then you can go into, you know, timings of meals before workouts. You can go into supplementation, you can go into all sorts of different things, but that really is like, you know, a little bit further down the line from what we're looking at in today's podcast. And we're looking at beginners. So getting those small things in place, like I said, you know, making small changes. You know, we might look at your program for a week and say, Jesus, eat a bit of fruit, you know,
exactly, yeah.
Eat a bit of fruit, or, you know, or try and, you know, lower down on this because it's, you know, this amount of calories or that amount of calories or whatever. Make those small changes. Then we can look into, you know, into macros and things like that. And then we can look into meal timing, supplementation, and more advanced work. But that really is, until you get those basics right, then really there's no place for
in fairness, if you get this nipped and you get this right, you might be just fine.
yeah, exactly. You might not even need to go on to that. Exactly. We're talking about, like, you know, when we're talking about meal timings and things like that, we're really just looking from, like, you know, sports performance point of view mainly. Maybe preference as well. Preference, gym performance, etc. But really don't worry about that kind of stuff until you, like Sonia says, you've got all this nipped. So there we go.
Yeah, excellent. I think we summarized this quite nicely. I'm really pleased with that. I hope
Boom.
as a nutritional consideration for beginners, you guys have a big takeaway out of this. I enjoyed talking to you and talking to you guys.
Thank you very much. No, that was great. Nice quick one today, but it really is that simple. It really is that simple with your nutrition. So avoid those crash diets, avoid dropping your calories too low. If the coach is telling you don't do this, don't do that, cut out this, we're going to get you shreds, but you've got to have 1,000 calories a day.
Don't listen to that.
Don't listen to it.
And
Absolutely.
call 911.
Call 911 quick. So yeah, there we go, guys. Food's there to be enjoyed. It's just being aware, it's managing it so you can be consistent and sustainable. Hope you enjoyed the
Life
podcast.
is everything.
Exactly. Have the goal in the macro, but think about the micro changes. There you go. Boom. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.